Two things. First off, on stop and frisk, really as a sidebar, close to 10% of all the stops land up with action being taken. Whether
that means more than 90, but the number's about 5%, that means 95% is not.
Right. But
which if you had that success rate in your business, how long would you succeed?
It's a little different business. Bottom line is that it is stopping crime.
It's not.
Okay.
Let me cut you off right there and tell you what the stats are, what the facts are. So under Giuliani, last year Giuliani was about 80,000 stops. Okay. Last year, nearly 700,000 stops. Now, putting aside for a moment that Ray Kelly, at the end of the Giuliani administration, criticized how many stops there were and said, this is not the way, this is not good policing. Here's what's happening. First of all, there's a lawsuit against you, the city of New York, for this policy that looks like it's probably going to succeed. As a response to that lawsuit, there's been almost a 50% reduction in stops. What's going on with crime? And down. And the reason is that when you're stopping innocent people who did nothing wrong, they're less likely to call in tips, less likely to testify at trials, less likely to cooperate with the police. So it's actually having less result. Now, one of the things that happens also when you do that is you have a lot of police officers spending a lot of time interviewing people that didn't do crimes. So what does that mean they're not doing? That means they're not out looking for people who did do crimes. I had this fascinating experience. Public housing is in dire straits right now. The federal government has stepped back, the state government has stepped back. So I stayed over one night with my colleagues at a public housing project in northern Manhattan. And by the way, we have some public housing not far from here. And I'm talking to this woman who's hosting me, and I say, she's a 70-something-year-old woman. She lives with her sister who's developmentally disabled. It's very tough circumstances. And I said to her, it's really true when you cross into statistically, when you cross the street and go into public housing, your chance of being a victim of crime goes up. And we were talking about this, and I said, do you know who the drug dealers are in the neighborhood? She said, oh yeah, it's George and 9L. And then she calls to her sister, says, what's the name of the guy in the next building who deals drugs? The point is, a couple of people are doing a lot of the crime. The better policing model, and they're doing it in Boston, they're doing it in Chicago, is to really put intense effort into trying to develop the relationship with the people like that woman I was staying with. So they just, rather than stopping hundreds of thousands of people, taking cops from our precinct to do it, you just whisper to it, yeah, it's George and 9L. Boom. You then go arrest George and 9L. It's not like we have 50% of the citizens preying on the other 50%. So we're not only not safe from it, but we're taking officers away from doing a lot of other things. I'll tell you what else we're doing. We're jamming up the cops. The cops hate this because they're doing so many interviews with people that did nothing wrong, it's jamming them up. CCRB complaints are up. Just generally, tensions between the police are way up. And it's something that we should be very concerned about, meaning we, people who live in communities that are never going to get stopped. You're not going to get stopped in Frisk, almost irrespective of what you do. I'm not so sure. I mean, look, I know better. I know we should keep an eye on it, but that's not the point. And so I think it's very, very important that from a perspective of getting better policing, and also we are losing resources. We send cops to the 70th. The day the roll call happens, then they move them out immediately.